Okay, the second part of the story of the Golden Gloves boxer is meeting Rose. Well, it is true that I got my original start in boxing in Morgantown. It wasn't until I moved to Seattle that I registered with USA Boxing as an amateur boxer. And that would have never happened had I not met Rose. I met Rose at a gym in the Columbia Tower in downtown Seattle. We were in the change rooms and I noticed her boxing gloves. Are you a boxer? I asked. Yes, she said. I train here when I can't get down to Hillman. That particular gym had some boxing equipment. It had a heavy bag, a speed bag, a double end bag, and space to jump rope. But Hillman, as I had come to find out, was an actual boxing gym, and Rose trained there with her coach. She invited me down to Hillman to take a boxing fitness class with her coach. And that is how I met Cappy, who became my first official boxing coach and brought me to my first Golden Gloves win in 1999. Hillman City Boxing Gym was a historic, classic boxing gym that was located in the Rainier Valley area south of Seattle, Washington. Those musky looking gyms you picture in your mind from every boxing movie you've ever seen? Yeah, that's Hillman. Cappy ran boxing classes in the basement, and they were reasonably well attended, primarily by other queer folks. Even back in the 90s, Seattle was a very queer friendly city, and there was never any conflict or animosity while training at Hillman. But eventually, Cappy would go on to open Cappy's Boxing Gym in the Central District, where I would become a member of the Capitol Hill Boxing Club and started training not only to teach fitness classes, but how to box competitively. Rose was younger than me, but a few weight classes above me and much, much more experienced. Well, I had a lot of natural talent and unnatural strength for my size and weight class. Rose outweighed me and initially was faster and more skilled. Cappy would have me spar with Rose as I was learning, especially my defensive skills, because none of the other boxers in my weight class or even close to my weight class could ever get close enough to me without getting clobbered first. Eventually, I would go on to outpace even Rose and went on to spar with the boys. But when I was first learning how to box competitively, Rose could have taken me out, no question. I learned a lot of lessons sparring in the ring with Rose. Literally rolling with the punches was one of those lessons. I think maybe Cappy thought I was getting a little too cocky this one time when she had Rose basically try to knock me out. I knew this is something that she would ask one of us to do to another because she asked me to do it to another boxer I would typically spar with for an exhibition match that we did right after I won my first Golden Gloves. Only I did actually knock that girl out for that exhibition, and she never wanted to spar with me again after that. Rose didn't knock me out, but she gave it her best shot. And I took a lot of punches, and for the first time ever, felt what it was like to be on the receiving end of having a barrage of punches raining down on you. I took some damage, but I also learned where that place in your mind will go to protect you. Or maybe it's just your guides. At this stage of my life, I'm not really sure anymore. But whatever it was, that guidance is what always kept me safe in the ring. And I rolled out from that particular strike attack and still landed some points during that round. But had it been an actual match, she definitely would have outpointed me and I would have lost that round. And speaking of epic beatdowns, one of my favorite tales from Cappy's gym occurred one evening when I was there training. This really cute bodybuilding dude, think Emilio Estevez in the Breakfast Club, okay, comes into the gym to check it out. Because the gym was in the CD and not Capitol Hill at the time, both straight and queer folks would train there regularly. They'd come to class, but they'd also train just one-on-one. This was definitely a straight dude, okay? I was working on the heavy bag and I didn't have headgear on at the time, and that was probably the reason why he asked Cappy if he could spar with me. Cappy had told him that I was an undefeated competitive boxer and that I could do some damage, and he was not deterred by that. So Cappy shrugged and asked me to gear up. The first round was defense only, meaning that I wouldn't throw any punches myself, but I could use parry, I could slip, I could block, I could use all my defensive skills. So that round, he never landed a punch, and I looked over at Cappy, and they nodded at me. Second round, still just defense on my part, but this time I would be able to tap him when he was open to let him know that I could have hit him if I had wanted to. He still didn't land a single punch, and I tapped him every time he threw a punch, and every time he counterpunched, I also tapped him just to let him know several times when he was open and that I could have drilled him, but I just tapped him. That second round should have clued him in, but he wanted to keep going. So for the third round, I wasn't going to just tap him when he was open. Instead, I got to use just one punch, okay? My jab. I didn't even try to hit every single time he was open during that round, but I still hit him quite a few times. And he not only was getting pretty tired by this point, but he also still hadn't landed a single punch. So normally amateur rounds only go 3 rounds, but when we spar, we go as many rounds as it needs to go. And apparently he needed to go Fight Club style. So when he said one more round, I looked over at Cappy and I knew it was time to unleash all the punches, Cappy said, for the final round. I didn't try to knock him out, and I didn't hit him as hard as I could have because he did have a very pretty face. And honestly, I was feeling a bit sorry for him by this point. But I did pepper him up pretty good, blackened both his eyes, bloodied his nose, and gave him a bunch of bruises on his ribs. I also had to test his jaw because he did have a pretty strong jawline and it was solid. But the funniest part of that entire story happened the next day when that guy went into work looking like he'd been jumped or something. And when he told the story about what happened to him to one of his coworkers, who happened to know me and was a friend of mine, my friend starts asking him questions. Wait a minute, coworker friend asked. Did this woman have dark hair, kind of skinny, Bambi tattoo on her shoulder? Yeah, bodybuilder dude says, that's her. You idiot, coworker friend says. That's Linda Ross. She's a Washington State Golden Gloves champion. Her muscles are for go and not for showing like yours. What do you think was going to happen? I laughed when my friend relayed that story to me shortly after it happened. Not sure what was more bruised for that guy that day than he made that choice to step in the ring with me, whether it was his body or his ego. But whatever the case was, we never saw him back at Cappy's gym again.